If there's one way to wow an audience, it's through a plot twist. Plot twists come in many different forms, but sometimes it's the character that gets the twist rather than the plot. One famous example of a character twist is the twist villain. A twist villain is a character who initially appears to be good-natured, but is then later revealed to be a villain, or at least an antagonist. This is different from traitors, since traitors were actually initially good, but then later decided to be evil, while twist villains were always evil, but just hid that fact from the main cast. Twist villains are a very common form of plot twist, since creating one isn't inherently difficult to implement into the story while still being a pretty effective twist if done right. Twist villains come in many different forms, but they all share the same three basic building blocks. The facade, or how the character acted before the twist itself and how it was handled, and how the character acted after the twist was revealed. These three traits are what make a twist villain, and writers need to be effective at all three of these traits to have a successful twist villain on their hands. First, let's talk about the facade. The entire point of a twist villain revolves around this aspect, so it is important to put some thought into it when designing one yourself. I see two ways the facade is utilized in the media I consume. The first is making the facade character somewhat close to the main cast so that, once the twist is revealed, you feel a sense of betrayal since you somewhat had a connection to this character that has now been broken. Examples of this would be Bobby Fulbright from Ace Attorney and Nagito Komaeda from Danganronpa. Detectives in Ace Attorney have always served as a beacon of reliability and hope throughout the series. They often help you in cases when you're in a bind, and have very charming and likable personalities that make you smile. When you see the detectives show up, you feel a sense of relief and trust knowing that they can help you turn your case around. So when that one character you trust and rely on so much suddenly turns out to be unreliable, it feels like you have no one to turn to anymore. This kind of mentality also applies to Komaeda. In Goodbye Despair, he plays the role of your partner, like Kyoko from the first game, helping you with investigations and giving you hints and trials. The fact that he is basically the tutorial mentor, coupled with the fact that he is almost always by your side in the first case, gives him a sense of trust and a serious emotional connection to the player, which gets completely shattered later on once the jig is up. Both of these characters also rely on the player's past experiences with characters of the same archetype in previous games. Because installments of the same series often contain similarities with one another, players like to form patterns and recognize certain repetitions in a franchise, which these types of characters deconstruct. The twists of Fulbright and Nagito wouldn't nearly work as well if they were from the first games of their respective series rather than sequels. The second type of facade character is one that does not really do all that much in the main story, so once it is revealed that said character is a villain, it brings surprise to the viewers that such a seemingly meaningless character has so much power. A good example of this would be Junko Enoshima from Trigger Happy Havoc, who dies really early on in the game and does not contribute that much to the story until the end. Because Junko is long dead, most viewers don't really care that much about her and instead focus on the surviving cast on candidates for being the mastermind. Junko's death is also a really good tool I see used in making effective twist villains. Certain impossibilities, like Junko's death, make viewers preemptively rule out a character from being the mastermind, when in reality, there's still a small chance that they could be evil. This causes viewers to lower their guard since they don't expect that character to be evil, so once the twist is revealed, the surprise factor is heightened, since even skeptical viewers are fooled. Examples of these impossibilities include Ace's bracelet in 999 and Akechi's status as the playable character in Persona 5. Ace could not go through door 3 if he was paired with Snake, so I automatically assumed he was innocent, and I would have never guessed that Akechi would be the mastermind if it weren't for the fact that I was spoiled for a month before I even laid a finger on Persona 5. Because preemptively removing a playable character like that seems like a stupid decision from a gameplay perspective, so viewers automatically assume Akechi is good since they wouldn't think Atlas would make such a stupid decision like that. While both these facade types can be quite effective when making a good twist villain, both can have some serious pitfalls when done incorrectly. If a twist character is too close to the protagonist, they can feel kind of suspicious, appearing in places they really shouldn't be, meaning that people can easily assume they are a twist villain. In contrast, if a twist character feels too obscure, the fact that they are a twist villain will feel like it comes out of left field, and, because there's no emotional connection to this character, viewers don't really care that the character is suddenly a villain. Regardless of which type of facade is chosen, a lot of twist villains seem to fall into a similar personality type when they are in their facade. They're usually bumbling, a bit meek, has a bit of a goofy side to them, and a sense of dorky weakness so that people never assume they did anything bad. This type of facade is rampant in the Ace Attorney series, and made me automatically, and correctly, guess that Adachi was the mastermind in Persona 4. It's not like a twist villain with this type of facade is automatically terrible. I actually love Adachi and the Ace Attorney twists that follow this trope. It's just that this type of characterization can be pretty predictable if done too much, so it's nice to spice things up a bit. This aspect of a twist villain is the least of your worries. Almost any character type can work well as a facade for a twist villain. It's just that one can take the extra mile and have their facade play a role into the twist as a whole. The second major building block when it comes to making a twist villain is the twist itself, how it is built up, and how it plays out. When it comes to having a twist villain, or a twist in general, there is a fine line between an effective twist and an ineffective one. Writers have to make the twist unpredictable enough so that viewers do not see it coming, but add enough subtle foreshadowing so that viewers can see how it makes sense in hindsight. Too much foreshadowing can make a twist feel too obvious, making people see the twist coming from a mile away without any satisfaction. I don't really have a good example for this, because many twist villains can seem obvious in hindsight since you know the twist is coming, so I'll just use Cozy Glow from My Little Pony. I know, it's a low-hanging fruit, but I'm just using this as an example. In the show, there are multiple scenes where pre-twist Cozy made suspicious faces and ominous music played when she was around to the point where she wouldn't even work as a red herring to the real twist villain. I guess Adachi from Persona 4 would also be a pretty obvious twist villain from a series that wasn't made for 8-year-olds. He has that bumbling, weak dork personality that I've described before, always conveniently shows up whenever the mystery gang makes a major discovery, and mysteriously doesn't have a social link in the version I played while much less relevant characters do. Despite this, I wouldn't consider his suspicious behavior to be too obvious, since Adachi also has an impossibility with his alibi in Rise's kidnapping, which is explained later in the game. On the other side of the spectrum, a character I would describe as having so little foreshadowing that it comes out of left field is Tengen from the Danganronpa 3 anime. In it, Tengen acts like any of the other hostages. Similar to Junko, he dies, no one cares, and then he's revealed to be the mastermind. Unlike Junko, however, there is no clear hints to him being the mastermind, and the actual reveal feels more like a fun trivia fact you'd find on Wikipedia as you and the entire cast care more about stopping Mitarai from turning everyone into hope zombies. Not only does this twist have zero build-up, it also has zero payoff, and since Tengen wasn't interesting to begin with, he actually fails at all three aspects of being a twist villain. So how can you make a villain twist that isn't caught by most viewers, but is also satisfying and makes sense in hindsight? Well, there are many ways of doing this, but I would like to illustrate one way of solving this problem I like to call completing the puzzle, seen with both Junko and Ace. This method involves having a structurally incomplete character in comparison to the others be fully realized and fleshed out through the existence of a villainous twist. In Danganronpa, Junko dies rather early in the game, and is both the only character to be killed by Monokuma, and the only character not to have any major role in any class trial before the twist. In 999, if you play all the endings besides the safe and true endings, you get to see each character have a serious, character-defining moment. All except for Ace. Compared to the others, he's just some guy that makes cheesy dad jokes and probably sounds like Asgore from Undertale. Both of these characters feel a lot less fleshed out than the others, as if they need a little something to make them on par with the rest of the gang. Turns out, that something is evil. Not only is this a good way to flesh out weaker characters, but it is also a good sense of foreshadowing, as clever viewers can use process of elimination to find out the mastermind. Best of all, you don't really need to rely on predictable archetypes when constructing the twist. Just take your least developed character and make them evil. Even if you guessed a twist from a mile away, you're probably still going to be satisfied when the twist is revealed. When I was first playing Trigger Happy Havoc, Junko was one of my favorite characters, and I was really sad that she died and wasn't able to do anything about it. Once I saw the photos in the 5th case and the possibility of Junko returning as the mastermind arose, I was ecstatic, especially since it turned out to be true. Not only did I get a mastermind twist I legitimately didn't see coming, I finally got to see my underrated queen get the justice she rightfully deserved. Now that we've talked about the twist of a twist villain, let's talk about the villain part. Once the twist is revealed, our twist villain shows their true colors, and those colors can be just as pretty or ugly as any other type of villain. While the twist of a villain can be mind-blowing, their distinct personality after the twist is what truly makes or breaks this character. This is why many people complain about Disney twist villains. There's really nothing else to them after the twist. Let's take a look at some classic Disney villains that people love. Scar, a character that cares so little about the well-being of others that viewers can't help but watch as he ruins both Mufasa and Simba's lives. Ursula. Not only does she have a bombastic and fun personality, she is also very sly and clever, being able to successfully take advantage of Ariel and her father. Hades, a very witty and funny villain that people can enjoy both as a comic relief and a threat. Now let's look at some twist villains that we've discussed before. Adachi, a smug, unempathetic jerk that goes out of his way to end the world just to get a sick kick out of life, not caring who he hurts in the process. Junko, a woman so bored with everything that she is bored with herself, so she changes her personality constantly just to get something out of her life. Simon Keyes, a jaded, spiteful man who is bent on getting revenge on all the people who's abused him in his childhood. See how both the Disney villains and the twist villains I've discussed before each have their own unique personalities? Most Disney twist villains, on the other hand, are just, you probably didn't think I was evil, did you? Maybe you shouldn't trust people so much. Oh well, your loss. I'm off to do my villain thing now. Bye. The key part of making a good twist villain is by making them a good villain in general. If the character is not a good villain without the twist, what makes you think it'd be good with it? That's why I like Adachi so much, even when I was able to predict him as soon as the game started. Even though I thought he was kind of predictable as a twist villain, I really enjoyed how his character played out after the twist was revealed. I love characters that go out of their way to cross the line while everyone else is in shock with how morally reprehensible said character is. Contrast this with how I feel about Nagito. While the setup and handling of the twist was done masterfully for this character, he's actually one of my least favorite Danganronpa characters because I can't stand his characterization as an antagonist. To me, his character archetype feels kind of outdated and cliché, being very similar to creepypasta OCs. I also feel like, while I do understand his overall theme with hope, I also feel like there are some parts to him that feel very confused and that the writers sometimes don't really know what they want to do with him. In conclusion, a twist can truly elevate a villain from being good to excellent. There are tons of ways to do this, and doing it well can cause viewers to let their guard down and become truly surprised. But even with a good twist, the villain itself has to be compelling and interesting in order to become a wonderful twist villain. That's what a twist villain is, a villain. The twist is just the icing on the cake, and while it's nice to have some flavorful ice cream, no one will eat it if the cake itself isn't stellar as well. Also, before we go, make sure to check out on my community tab. If you subscribe to my channel, not only will you get notifications on when new videos come out, you'll also get notifications on when I update on my community tab. I update pretty frequently there, so if you want to see new content from me, make sure to check out my community tab.